Hey, what's going on, guys? Brandon here with Texas Revving, making a video I've been looking forward to make for a little while now, and finally gonna do it. Now, this can easily be a long video, and it probably will be, so I'll just cut right to the chase. In short, this is gonna be a video where I touch on some cars, drivers' cars and collector cars, that I can see doing very well in the market. In fact, going up in value quite a bit in the mid, short, and long-term play here. Now, I want to use that phrase kind of carefully as far as investment cars, because I think, in my opinion, don't want anyone to get offended here, but I think speculative buyers and people who just buy cars only for the sole reason to possibly flip them and make money, I think they're kind of the worst thing for the car community. People who kind of take cars out of circulation more or less and reserve it to not be driven at all, only to make a couple bucks or a lot of bucks, rather than just having someone who would have driven it. I don't know. Not a big fan of it, but then again, in some regard, as a capitalist, I can understand it because some of these cars on this list might even, in some cases, they might actually have a better return on investment than some real estate, again, in some instances. More often than not, I would just hope someone would invest in real estate if they want to make money on something they're not going to use. But then again, I'm not a financial advisor, so do as you will. That all said, one thing that all these cars in this list do have in common is if I had, given the space and the money, certainly, these are all cars I would personally buy. And so that's how I got my list. So if you think something's missing, I may not just know about it all the way. So this is my personal list. So hopefully it's entertainment to you guys. But mostly I'm actually making this because it'll be fun to reference this exact video 5-10 years down the line. See how I did. Maybe I'm dead wrong and we're in a recession. Hey, future me, hope you're doing well. All right, that being said though, 4 years and 4 months ago, I made a similar video with 6 cars. So this was August 23rd of 2017. That being said, that was more of a normal economy at the time. Since then, everything's gone up, so I do want to address that real quickly before we run into that. I know everything's up. Real estate, watches, everything's up. What's gonna stick, what's gonna last, I don't know. I do know a lot of this is fueled based off of supply demand. That makes sense. And a lot of it is also the coming death of a combustion engine and overall driver involvement, and cars aren't being made like they used to, or at least we're on the tail end of it. So people are kind of being in some way speculative in that sense. So I don't think this is necessarily a bubble we're in. I do think it's kind of sustainable. And in short, what I think some of these cars would have done in 1 or 2 decades time, because of the shortage of things and the pandemic and everything, what would have happened in that 1 to 2 decades all got condensed between 1 and 2 years. So these are things that were destined to go up in value, but it just really crunched down. So at worst, I think they might plateau and then kind of pick up, or they'll just keep being bullish. I don't know. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Now, again, 4 years, 4 months ago, I put 6 cars together. So let's grade myself 1 through 6. Let's see how I did. First car I said back in, how old was I? Anyway, back in 2017. I said a Dodge Viper ACR, but probably not the one you're thinking about. But that one probably went up in value too. The previous gen ACR, because they could have been had for about $70,000. I doubt I could find that car for 70 grand today. And so that's that. Second car, this one's a little bit more vague, but I did say an SLS, Mercedes SLS Coupe. And those could have been had, a clean example, for about $135,000 for a low mileage example. Because the AMG GT was new at that time. That was a twin turbocharged V8 with the normal poverty doors. The Gullwing with a naturally aspirated V8, thought that was enough substance for an investment. Third car on the list was a Ferrari 430 Scuderia, which I still certainly will stand by that. I found a clean example at that time for $185,000. Number 4 on that list, that's gonna break my heart for sure. That is a 2005 and 2006 Ford GT. I loved that car then. I love it now. I want one now. And it sucks seeing that price. So 4 years and 4 months ago, that could have been had. A clean example for $260,000. If I saw one offered for that, I would buy it as soon as yesterday. I will own that car eventually, even if it means I have to spend $1 million in 20, 30 years from now. Hopefully I get it before then. The fourth car on that list was a 458 Speciale. At the time, they could have been had for about 300, and I saw 330, the lowest end. But a super, super clean example might have been about $360,000. And the very last car on that list, you might want to sit down for this one. You probably are on the toilet anyway, but that is a Porsche Carrera GT, guys. I found a Guards red one in great condition a little over 4 years ago for $628,000. And at that time, I said, I can't believe they're under $1 million. When you think about what that car competed with, you would have nearly doubled your money in 4 years. That's some good cheddar. All right, so that's the Carrera GT. That was the list from August 23rd, 2017. 6 cars, and this time around we have quite a few more. Again, it could be a long video, so I'm going to try to kind of highlight some of these cars very, very briefly, okay? But give enough context on why I think they're going to go up. I'm going to try to go from, not cheapest necessarily, most obtainable price. Most obtainable all the way to the most expensive. That being said, I will look like a Ford fanboy on this list, and I'll wear it with some pride. We are talking about the 1999 to 2004 F-150 SVT Lightning. Whenever I talk about this truck to people who may not know about the car, they all say, what is so special about that Cholo vehicle? And I said, well, that's the thing. It came from the factory like that, which is like freaking awesome. You get the amenities and the ease of driving, I guess, of a normal car. It's so easy to get in. It's only like a 2-seater, really. All that kind of stuff. Maybe a 3-seater, technically, with the middle. But then you get the utility, a little bit of a truck, because it's still an F-150, but it's small, it's condensed, it's easy to park. I don't know. It's a 5.4 liter V8, side exhaust. It's freaking cool. Again, that was made from 99 to 2004. But if you're our driver, and then i.e. what collectors will seek, would specifically be a 2001 to 2004, because they've got a 20 horsepower bump. From 360 horsepower, now they're 380. Again, it's 2001 to 2004 SVT Lightning. You could get a decently clean one. When I say clean, this is still a truck, so 50,000-ish miles or so. I'm gonna give you guys a wide range, so just be ready for it. Mid-ish 20s to mid-ish 40s, just depending. Some are pristine and collected, and some have been driven like an F-150. So, depending on how much you want to drive it. But an SVT Lightning, 2001 to 4 specifically. Next on the list is a Lotus, Elise, or an Exige. So they just killed off, I'm sure you guys know, they just killed off a few Lotus examples. Elise, Exige, which we haven't really gotten in America anyway lately, but as well as the Evora, and replaced it with the new Emira, which I don't know if I've ever told you guys. I'm technically on a list for one. I got down payment on it, but the dealership's kind of been slow to talk to me, so I don't know. Maybe some Emira content coming next year, so stay tuned, but we'll see about that. But the Elise and the Exige, as we know it, I forgot from what years, but very, very cool cars. They could have been had for not a whole lot of money a few years ago, like everything for the most part. But get ready to fork out, I don't know, between 30 to 40s for a clean Elise. I don't know where the Exiges are at right now, just because they don't trade hands that often. But the Exige certainly is cool with that roof snorkel on top. That was actually my first dream car, believe it or not. That was a cool Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. I blame for that. All right, guys, get ready, because car number 3 on the list has got a little bit of a bias warning, but that is a Shelby GT350 or 350R. The first year of the 350 was a 2015, but they did not make that many cars, so good luck finding that, and not that you want that anymore anyway, I don't think. But they got more mainstream in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and then last year was 2020. The day Ford announced that the 350 was no longer going to be produced in 21 plus, the average sales price of all 350 and 350Rs went up $10,000 new and used. And that hasn't really crashed since then. I get a lot of people saying, oh, I'll buy a GT350 or a 350R right when the markets crash. Best of luck to you. I'm not trying to sound cynical because I buy one. If the market truly does crash, I'll just buy another one. So I'm right there with you. I'm waiting too. Now, for everyone watching thinking I'm sounding kind of biased, this is probably a pretty bad time to mention that the next car on the list is the SVT GT500 from 2013 or 2014. Now, I've only had this car for about 3.5 months. So it's not like I've had the car and it's made me biased. It was these thoughts that made me buy the car. I've said that in the past. So a 2013 or 2014 SVT GT500, I think it's a pretty good buy. Enough so to where I made a whole video on why a 1314 is a good buy. Carbon fiber drive shaft is the only Mustang to do over 200 miles an hour, 202. Third fastest production Ford, and I could go on and on. The last one Carol Shelby knew about. If you want some more information on a 13 or 14 on why it's a good buy, that's another video that I made, the last video before this one. The 5th car, if I'm counting right, is one that I don't think gets talked about enough. I don't think there's enough YouTube content on it either. I would buy one quick if I had the cash, but kind of spent it all recently. It's okay. That is a Corvette C6 ZR1. Carbon ceramic brakes standard, carbon fiber hood standard, carbon fiber roof visible standard. And so many exotic elements that were brought into a car that had a starting price of, I don't know the starting price, but I know the sticker price was about $106,000. That's not what they go for now. They're quite a bit under that. So that's why I think they're a pretty good purchase. It's gonna be pretty short. It's a little ambiguous because I don't know about production numbers and I don't know currently what the price is. I should have checked on that, but we're gonna pass through it pretty quickly. I'm gonna put a manual transmission Hellcat, all right? So pretty simple. Next car, another vague one. Last time I made the list was that Viper ACR. This, at this point, I'm saying Dodge Viper. Any Dodge Viper, because there was no Dodge Viper that didn't come with a V10, that came with an automatic. They were all manual V10s, guys. So I don't know, just Dodge Viper as a whole. If you could find a good deal on any generation, a Dodge Viper. If they ever bring the Dodge Viper name back, it's probably gonna be a dual clutch with a twin turbo V8 or V6, or it's gonna be electric for all we know. The way that, who owns Mopar and Dodge at this point? I don't like the way they're going. Next car on the list, people I don't think talk about too much actually. What was the last naturally aspirated V12 car offered with a manual? Because right now there is none. So what was the last production car with a naturally aspirated V12 with the manual? I've asked some people and they say 509 GTB. That's not it. That was niche and they're all over $1 million. I think they made like 6. Murcielago with a 6-speed. That's a good one, but no, there was a later one, and that is an Aston Martin V12 Vantage from my memory. I don't think there's a later production car with a V12 and a manual. The thing is though, if you're gonna buy a V12 Vantage, it really matters on the years. It's gotta be the one with the manual, and they did a 6-speed manual only in 2011 and 2012. I believe, I may be getting my years wrong here, but I believe in 2013, 14, 15, and possibly 16, they went to an automated manual. It's not good. It's a very, very bad transmission. There's no way to put it lightly. They look good, they sound good. That's all they have going for them, not investment quality. So if you want one, 2011 and 12, then in 2017, they brought back the manual in a V12 Vantage, and those are going for quite the premium. Very, very cool. Not too many were brought to the US. They were all special editions. I don't think they sold that well initially, but I think the secret's starting to come out a little bit. And so people are buying up 2017 V12 Vantages with the manuals. But if you can't find or afford the 2017, I think going back to 2011 and 12, not a bad move either. I think those are like the low 100s. You get a manual and a V12, naturally aspirated. 2 big wins right there, I think. And a very good looking car though. Like everyone agrees on that. All right, this is rolling right over from the last list, guys. The 430 Scuderia. When you talk about those specialty Ferraris, this is priced like the redheaded stepchild for some reason. And now don't get me wrong, they have actually been going up in value since I last talked about them 4 years ago. We're talking low 200s. But when you talk about those specialty, like this is your cheapest ticket into the specialty Ferraris. You talk about trying to go in the right order here. The Pista, then the Speciale. Then before Speciale was the Scuderia. Before that was the Challenge Stradale. All of those are going for way more money than the Scuderia. Scuderia sounds amazing, naturally aspirated. It did have the F1 paddle shift stuff, but it was actually really, really well calibrated and tuned. So it's actually a great car. And I heard they're actually really reliable, which is funny because we're talking about a 2008 or 2009 Ferrari. In my opinion, I don't see how Ferrari is going to have a sustainable business as the combustion engine dies. Let's just say everything goes electric in our lifetime because it's looking like it's going to be that way, or they say. I don't know how sports cars are going to stay in business. What differentiates one car than the other than its look? So people love Lamborghini for the look, sure, but they also love them for their big V10s and V12s. And I don't think their looks and scissor doors are enough. So what Ferrari has going for it in this era that we're kind of phasing out, and certainly a decade ago, was a high revving, visceral V8 or V12. And the 430 Scuderia certainly had a very visceral V8 that shot flames from the exhaust from the factory. That kind of visceralness and seeing the weld marks, that real race car for the road, that's actually a good road car too. Yeah, we could already say they don't make them like that. So for the low 200s, yeah, I could see that doubling in value within the decade. Rolling over from the last list as well, the SLS. I'll say that a little bit less enthusiastically. I did say I would buy every car on this list, but maybe not so much a standard SLS Coupe. I may have said early in the video my favorite Mercedes, besides like a 300 SL Gullwing or something like that, like a classic, is the SLS Black Series, but I don't even want to know what those are going for. So, you know, as far as a standard SLS though, you do get the Gullwing doors for the coupe and a naturally aspirated V8. So that's pretty cool. All right, I think if I'm counting right, car number 11 is the Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. What I just said about the 430 Scuderia, copy paste, except now with a Gran Turismo style front engine V12. Okay, and I think very soon we're gonna think back to when they were available in the 200s at all, and think that's crazy. High revving, just freaking crazy. Yet daily drivable on the inside. Yet 730 something horsepower. Mad car. I freaking love it. My favorite front engine car ever made is the F12 TDF. But those are all a little over $1 million. So for 200 something, there you go. You get the poor man's. Next car, we're going over to the Raging Bull. As I mentioned before, another car company that I just can't see selling cars if they went all electric, but what do I know? I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the only Lamborghini I've driven that really excited me. I can get the idea of Aventadors, don't get me wrong, but an Aventador is not a driver's car. It's more an enthusiast car. I think you drive that car, like an Aventador or a Countach or a Diablo, I think you drive those for everybody else, for everyone else to see, for everyone else to hear, to you know, talk about at the car show. Whereas we talk about the V10s, and the 12th car on this list is the Huracan Performante. Had a little bit of experience with one years back, and forever grateful for that, because that car opened my eyes wide open. I've always liked Lamborghini, but like, again, from a distance, not to own. The Huracan Performante, by far and away, is the first Lamborghini I would buy, and I would not even look back. I think low 300s, maybe high 200s, but you know, budget around the 300 or so, low 300s. You could snag a Huracan Performante. All right, the next car on the list is, again, I'm just gonna have to hold back my tears. It is the 2005 or 2006 Ford GT. Truly, I want to buy one of these Ford GTs within the next few years. I don't have the money for it. I'm gonna have to freaking find it. And work for it. I've discussed this with great car enthusiast friends of mine, and for the most part, everyone agrees. The Ford GT of 2005 and 2006 will most certainly be a $1 million car. When? I don't know. Maybe 10 years, maybe more, maybe less. But I think about a decade to a decade and a half, 10 to 15 years, that Ford GT is gonna be $1 million. I think it's got all the tools to do it. It's got a heritage for sure. It's got like a little bit of a story. That car never raced, but it was an homage to obviously the 60s. I'm not gonna go into that story, you probably already know it. With the rear opening clamshell to where you can see the entire supercharged 5.4 liter V8. It's got a 6-speed manual. It has been 14 or 15, maybe 16 years since that car came out. And it has gotten better and better as the years gone on. I think you will not be able to find one for under $500,000 within the decade for sure. Or sooner, maybe 5 years, and I don't think you'll be able to find one for under $1 million. Let's play it safe. 20 years. That was the main list, guys. You guys made it through. This is a long video, so I guess you guys really got nothing going on. Thanks for staying with me. However, little extracurricular, little bonus round, guys. 3 more cars. You earned it. Real quickly, I want to talk about Porsche. 2 cars here are Porsche. One new, one old. One, I guess I forgot about it. I guess I could have snuck it into the main part of the list. But I didn't because the values recently shot up so much to where it's kind of hard to call it an investment now, but I can only see them going up more and more. That being said, this is the 997.2 911 GT3 RS. Both the 3.8 liter and the 4 liter. Let's start with the 4 liter because that's already going for a lot of money. I just saw one recently sell on Bring a Trailer, white, the most common spec, sell for I think $625,000. So the buyers are ready to pay the premium for them. It was the last RS, 3RS with a manual transmission. It was the last of the hydraulic steering. And then the last one was the last of the Metzger engine. There's a few other last in there as far as the looks and everything else, whatever. But those are the big 3. But going for $600,000 is a lot of money. And that car was a skunkworks project. It wasn't really supposed to happen. It was like the last send-off to that 997 generation. What was supposed to be the last was the 3.8 liter. So that can be had for quite a bit less money, but it gives you a lot of those big ticket things. So excluding that car, and by the way, only 600 of those cars were made, the 4 liter, the non-limited edition was a 3.8, which like I said, has a lot of those similarities. But just because it doesn't say numbered 1 of 600, they're going for quite a bit less money. Look at the production numbers on that car though. Not that many. Less than 2,000 for sure. I forgot if it was like 15-ish, 1,600 or even less. Not that many 3.8s were made. The reason I'm apprehensive to talk about that though is that used to be had for about $150,000, and lately they've been selling for almost $100,000 more than that. Still though, not too bad of a purchase. The next 2 cars though are still in production, so that's why it's kind of like a gray space, and I'll be the last on the list. Any GT3 with a manual transmission. If you're buying a 992, don't get the PDK. Do yourself a favor. Do everyone a favor, because you might sell it. And so in the secondhand market, get the manual transmission. Any manual transmission GT3 is golden, but those are still in production, so a little gray space there. Last car, also in production, so not quite calling it collectible just yet. The Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, once again, with the manual transmission. Freaking awesome. It actually weighs less than the new GT500. It's actually given a manual transmission. It's got 660 something horsepower, just a freaking ton, a lot of torque, burnout machine, yet all of a sudden it's an American car with some supple like leather materials and carbon fiber backrest, and it's just freaking awesome. So for a tick over 6 figures, a little over $100,000, you can get a very well equipped with carbon ceramic brakes CT5V Blackwing. I'm sure that's going to have a pretty typical depreciation curve. It might be a cool pickup right there. And then for the longevity, they're not going to make cars like that too long. Very, very cool car. That's a long list, guys. Thanks for staying with me. Let's go ahead and address this video in 5 and 10 years time and see how we did. Until then, if you guys are in the Central Texas area and you got a cool car you'll let me make videos with, let me know. I kind of ran out of cars and I don't have the money to buy anymore. But when I do, 05, 06 Ford GT. Trust me. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time. Take care.